The storm came without warning. Thick sheets of snow poured down from the sky, swallowing the highway whole. Visibility dropped to almost nothing, and the wind screamed like a living thing. Somewhere along that frozen stretch of road, 15 bikers, leather jackets stiff from the cold, engines sputtering under the icy assault, realized they were in serious trouble. Their leader, a broad-shouldered man named Rick, squinted through the blinding white and cursed under his breath. They were miles from town, their bikes struggling to grip the slick asphalt. The group, the Iron Shepherds, had been riding cross-country to raise money for veterans in need. Now they were stranded in the middle of nowhere, the temperature plummeting fast. Rick motioned for the group to pull over near a cluster of trees. The men huddled together, their breath forming clouds of desperation. They had tents, but the snow was coming too hard, too fast. Hypothermia was no longer a distant worry. It was an imminent threat. Then, through the swirling snow, one of them spotted a faint yellow light flickering in the distance. A house, someone shouted. Hope flared. They pushed their bikes, as far as they could, and finally reached a small farmhouse, old and slightly leaning with age. The porch light glowed warm against the dark, and smoke curled from a brick chimney. Rick hesitated. 15 rough bikers showing up on someone's doorstep in the middle of the night wasn't exactly a comforting sight, but there was no choice. He climbed the steps and knocked. The door creaked open, revealing a tiny woman wrapped in a wool shawl. Her hair was silver, her face soft with the kind of wrinkles that come from years of smiling. "Oh, my," she said, eyes wide as she took in the sight of them. "You boys look frozen. Get in here before you turn to ice." They couldn't believe it. No questions, no hesitation. She ushered them inside like they were family. Her living room was small but warm, with knitted blankets on every chair and the smell of soup simmering from the kitchen. "I'm Mrs. Thompson," she said cheerfully. "Now sit down, all of you. I'll make more soup." The men exchanged glances, unsure how to react to this kindness. Still, they obeyed. She handed them towels to dry off, set logs on the fire, and even gave up her own bedroom for the ones most chilled. "You'll stay the night," she insisted. No arguing. The storm's not done yet. As the night wore on, conversation replaced silence. The bikers told her about their cause, about the veterans they were helping, and the long miles they'd traveled. She listened with tears in her eyes, nodding as she stirred the pot on the stove. "My husband was a veteran," she said softly. "He would have been proud of you boys." By morning, the storm had eased. The world outside was blanketed in white, glittering in the early light. The bikers prepared to leave, helping her shovel the snow from her walkway and stacking firewood by her door. Rick handed her an envelope with what little cash they could spare. She pushed it back gently. "No, dear," she said with a smile. "You just keep helping people. That's worth more than money." Rick couldn't argue. They left with hugs, promises to return, and hearts warmer than they'd been in years, but that wasn't the end. 2 days later, Mrs. Thompson was woken by the rumble of engines. Not one, not 15, but dozens. She stepped onto her porch, pulling her shawl tight around her shoulders. What she saw brought tears to her eyes. Lined up along the road, gleaming in the morning sun, were nearly 100 motorcycles. The Iron Shepherds had spread the word about the kind old lady who'd opened her home to strangers without a second thought. Bikers from neighboring states had ridden in to thank her, each one bringing groceries, firewood, and supplies. Some brought furniture, others tools to fix her roof. One even brought a new furnace. Rick stepped forward, grinning beneath his leather jacket. "You helped us when no one else would," he said. "Now it's our turn." Mrs. Thompson's eyes glistened. "You boys didn't have to, we did," Rick interrupted. "You reminded us that kindness still exists. We're just returning the favor." They spent the whole day repairing her porch, painting her fence, and filling her pantry. Someone fixed the squeaky front door. Others tuned her old car. When the sun began to set, the once quiet farmhouse looked brand new, surrounded by the thunderous beauty of chrome and steel. Before they left, the entire group gathered around her. She stood on her porch, smiling through tears as 100 engines revved in unison. It was their way of saying thank you. The sound echoed through the valley like a promise that good deeds never go unnoticed. As the last bike disappeared over the hill, Mrs. Thompson sat in her rocking chair, looking out over her yard. The snow was melting now, glistening like diamonds in the light. She whispered to herself, "Harold, you'd be proud." In the weeks that followed, she received letters from all over, from bikers, veterans, and strangers who'd heard her story. They called her the guardian of the shepherds. But to her, She was just a woman who did what anyone should do when someone knocks on their door in need. Her story became a reminder that kindness has no uniform, no boundaries, no limits. Sometimes it rides in on two wheels, covered in snow, and sometimes it begins with nothing more than a light left on in the dark. And from that night forward, every time the wind howled and snow began to fall, the light on Mrs. Thompson's porch stayed on, a beacon for anyone lost in the storm.